Hello, everybody. It is Friday afternoon, and that means it's SketchUp Live time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to model in SketchUp. My name is Aaron. With me is my good buddy, Matt. Yeah. Yeah, I figure there's a couple ways to go. We could just like hop on here and start modeling something all casual and like, oh, what this? But no, we figured it made more sense to like, let's talk about the new version. Let's get into it. And we thought, what better way to do that than we'll start by exploring the model we've been using for the imagery and the videos, the community center model that you guys have seen already. Let's talk about how that got made. And through that, let's talk about SketchUp 2025 and the features in there. He said really good stuff, guys. And just now even nailed it. Um, yeah. Yeah. That's odd. Yeah. Here we go. Huh. Yeah. It's fun because you really never know what you're going to get when you stream. You can test things and like it'll be fine over and over and over again, but then sometimes it just isn't okay. Uh Here, let me try adding this.
Check. Hello, hello.
There we
Might
go.
need to turn you down a little bit.
Yeah. Matt's here and he's hot.
Yeah, coming in hot. And I am saying stuff now officially. I'm living up to my title. Yeah, no, I was dropping, insights into the meaning of the universe and stuff, but unfortunately, you guys missed that. So
it was amazing. You guys really missed out on it.
But no, I was saying I'm happy to be here on a very special episode. And yeah, what would it be? It would not be a special episode without some technical hiccups. So yeah, we're happy to get going and happy for everybody here in the chat bearing with us, but and being with us as well, certainly for a great show today on this Friday afternoon, SketchUp Live Day.
That's right. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna do it. Let's hop right in. I need to make sure I bring Matt with me, so we're gonna switch scenes and it'll be quiet for just 1 second while I bring him in there too. So let's hop over.
Goodbye, my love. Hello.
Nope, he came right over. That was perfect. All right, everything worked out except the overhead camera is not working now. Oh, good times. Good times were had by all. Yeah, so I want to open this up though. I want to throw this out into the Chativerse. Have you gotten 2025 up and running yet? And if so, what's your favorite piece? Let's hear some feedback. We did have everybody chiming in from where they're from, and as usual, we got an international audience here. We got people from all over the globe. Somebody was saying it was like 8 p.m. their time. So
it's commitment.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna be here.
Or you look forward to it all week. 8 p.m. on Friday. I know where I'm going to be.
That's right. I don't have to make plans for Friday night. SketchUp's on. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I'm booked.
Yeah. So we're here. We're doing this. Looks like everything is working now. So we want to talk about 2025. We want to talk about the version. We want to talk about some of our favorite features. We want to hear from you guys. Having installed 25 is not a requirement for enjoying the stream. In fact, we want people who haven't gotten into 25 yet to show up and tell us their questions. Ask, what are you thinking about 25? What questions do you have? What do you want to see? Let's hear it. I can't say that we'll be able to go in depth to everything, but we will do our best to show what we know about 25. This is a funny thing that happens is people go, well, there's two things that I want to mention here. One is our team, the video team, we usually work on release software. So we only really hop onto the new software maybe a couple weeks before it's released to you guys. So we do in that time try to become intimate with the release notes and practice using it and that kind of stuff. But it's pretty quick. We're not like, experienced at using 25 at this point. So yeah, as you have questions, we'll do our best to answer them and demo whatever we can where we can. But the other thing I want to throw out there is sometimes we get questions back to us that go well beyond our scope of expertise. That being specifically things like, can you change this in the software or can you add this? And not that we're trying to brush anything off, but no, probably the answer is no. Us personally, no. But having said that, our amazing product management team does keep track of things like the forum and comments, and they may even be on the line here. So if you do have questions, specific questions, wondering about how something works, that sort of thing, and we can't dive into it, your input is still valuable. So do chime in. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and please ask us any questions if you have, like Aaron said, about anything in particular. I'm also going to drop a link to the release notes here too,
Yes.
in the chat. So that's the in-depth, in detail stuff that will, sometimes we misspeak live here. So the release notes are, properly worded and everything. So check those out if you have any, detail technical questions about anything in the release, certainly.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to hop in here, and we did something a little different from things we've done in the past. We're always kind of evolving this process, but what we specifically wanted to do with this release, the 2025 release, was have a model that was purpose-built for this release that we could use as a showcase model. In the past, we've used customer models. We've had models built for us. But we want to be very intentional about building a model that would showcase the features of 2025. And we wanted to make sure this was a well-built model, well-designed, intentional model. We didn't want it to just be something flashy that looks really good from the front. But if you go around back, it's all, duct tape and cables and stuff.
So you don't want me to model it.
That's right. Hey, it's good if it's pretty, but it's even better if it's pretty all over. So we wanted to be intentional about that. So what I want to do is spend a little time now walking you guys through the process we went through to create this model. And I'm going to give full credit to the people who are actually doing this. I was part of the collaborative process. I chipped in and talked, but I didn't do the work. So nobody should say, hey, Aaron, that's a great model, because I was there in some meetings. I didn't do it. But I will give the people who did do it proper credit when we do that.
You just chipped in and talked. I can't imagine doing anything like that.
I had
all
opinions.
I do on the stream.
I had thoughts. Yeah. I did my best Matt impersonation.
Yeah, co-hosting the model. Yeah.
That's right. So let's do it. Let's go in and let me run you guys right through this thing. So when we started this back last year is when this got started. It was in 2024, and that was when Eric Sargent was on our team, and Eric is actually the one who did the initial modeling in here. So what we knew we wanted to do is we wanted to do something that was different from what we've done before. So we stayed away from like office buildings. We stayed away from residential. We want to do something that was in the commercial realm, but we didn't want to do like a high rise. We want to do something different. So we talked about this idea of a community center, a place where people could draw together. It would also be a very diverse setting where we could visualize a bunch of different things when we looked through the model. We could get scenes of a whole bunch of different, purposes of different rooms, that kind of stuff. So that a community center, plus a community center is kind of it's kind of an open thing, right? Like what is a community center? Well, that could change depending on the community. So it was kind of a green field for us to play in. So what I want to show real quick is Eric's initial massing model. And those of you who don't know, Eric was with us for 7 or 8 years, I think. He was on the SketchUp team. He worked in the campus. His campus courses are still up there. His videos that he made as part of our team are still on YouTube. But he has moved on to a different opportunity, something he wanted to try. So, all good. Good stuff. I talked to Eric earlier this week. He's doing good. He says hi, and he actually was going to try to drop in here too. So we may see him in the chat as well. But he started with this, and you can see here, shadowed underneath this initial 2D layout, he has a hand drawing. Well, hand drawing. He did it on his iPad, but you can kind of see what he was going for, kind of the flow of the building, where we have this entryway, and then this 2-tier or 2-floor section over here, a theater space over here, a gym over here. And you can see that he started off with this hand drawing and then kind of came in with these 2D shapes and just kind of mocked that up over top. So moving along here, here's kind of some...
I'll pop in real quick. We did have a couple questions in the chat.
Bring it.
Not to derail you too badly, but I'll let you get a sip of coffee. There was a question by David about the default tray on Windows was hidden on the side, and if you hovered over it, it would expand. There's a little pin in the top right of the default tray, and if you pin it, if you hit that, it'll stay always up, and if you unpin it, it'll automatically hide and only come out when you hover over it. So that's how you get that to stay. When can we expect collaboration with the team view synchronization? This is in relation, I'm sure, to the 3D Basecamp keynote, where we showcased some stuff that was still in progress, and it is still in progress. So sometime, that's not now, in the future.
Coming sometime.
Yeah. So that's the answer to that question. And can you start over? Yeah, we're basically just starting now, so you're in luck. Thanks, Randy. Okay, so we have a kind of a sugar cube massing model here.
Right. So this is, you can see, it's a lot of the 2D shapes here just kind of raised up and kind of played with a little bit. Just kind of how would that work, and some preliminary dimensions. How big is this building going to be? What's a realistic size? That sort of thing. So kind of moving along some more. Right over here, we had some kind of, this is initially getting like the building front here where the glass would be. How would that look? We had this little kind of blocked off section in the middle, the larger gym on the side. You see the grids under here to kind of give a layout or give an idea of the size, layout, that kind of thing. So you can kind of work in pieces. So you can kind of see the initial just going from literally the napkin sketch. Well, not literally, because it was an iPad sketch, but that sketch, 2D, 3D, starting to put some texture and some, you can also see the front entryway was kind of mocked in here. Got some quick stairs, a couple people, just kind of show the shape of that. And then this is kind of one of my favorite things that Eric did, was he took that space and just kind of labeled it in 3D volume, which is, I don't know, this may have happened before, but I thought it was really cool because it not only shows like what goes where, so your library, info, lobby, the plaza, the stage, and you can see like he also gave height to it. So you can see here in the gym, this is a full 2-story gym that's up tall, where like the entryway is short and then it kind of comes up. And this also, you might notice that this is actually backwards of the way that the whole thing laid out. So he actually kind of just is showing the progress of that design, how that changed around. So kind of cool. And it just kind of illustrates what SketchUp's really, really good at, is just giving you those 3D drawing tools and getting out of the way. This is not about 2025. This is not about visualization materials or anything else. This is just straight SketchUp right here. Easy to get in there and make that whole just thing happen. So very cool. I want to share that because I thought it was just a cool progression from 0 to, a 3D visualization of the space.
Yeah, and like you were talking about earlier, they kind of, it's not as much work as making the model itself and kind of figuring out how everything goes together, but the conversations that we had of like, what should even be in here? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like what would a community like enjoy to have? What would be interesting to have in here? And so being like, well, it'll be nice to have the theater in the front because then people could like look in and out and see it. And then, the gym area too, kind of, I don't know. The whole thing was interesting to me to like just say, oh, maybe there should be like, a place for like meeting rooms or like little
Right.
kind of work pods. And then Eric's like, here it is
Yeah.
in real 3D. And I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome. So yeah, it's definitely fun to see the kind of at that stage of the development and the design is like there's so many things that could happen. So it's cool to see the shapes and the spaces kind of come into reality.
Yeah. And it's very interesting for us because I've talked about this on streams before, how I got the best 3D modeling job in the world because I get to model whatever. I never have to. It's a double-edged sword for me. That's what I've talked about. Is I don't get to really master any specific kind of thing because we always jump around with what we're modeling. Um, but the upside, which is the thing here, was taking something that not necessarily, Eric was not a master of community center design. None of us had experience with, oh yeah, I've done 5 or 6 of these. So it was cool to get to come in here and kind of brainstorm and plan through that. Like, what would that be? Let's be intentional about this. Let's not just put things in there because they're going to look cool when they get new materials on them. Let's put them in there because the building makes sense, the story makes sense, and that was a lot of fun. And it was something that, like I said, Eric definitely led the charge, but we did go in and share ideas and review the process through SketchUp, which was a lot of fun. It was really cool. I like that. All right, I'm going to close this one. We don't need to save it. I didn't do anything.
We got a question here. Why I can't add the environments to my model? Hard to see, or hard to say, I should say, without seeing your model. So maybe post it on the forum. I would say make sure that you have the 2025 version, and then make sure that when you go to window, that environments is checked there so that the environments window is showing up. Yeah, give that a shot. You can also start with a template that has an environment. I think it's called visualization is one of the default templates now that has the environment already switched on. So that could be a way to make sure that they're in there.
Yeah, I would say one of my questions would be too, what are you doing this on desktop or iPad? Well, you said you uninstalled and installed. Well, I don't know. Yeah, make sure it's the right version. So it should be version 7 of iPad or 2025 of SketchUp for desktop.
Yes, 100%.
Sometimes we tell these things theory, but sometimes we tell these out of experience. And if you have an older version of iPad, it doesn't matter how many times you click, you're not going to get environments to show up. I learned it. Screwing it up so you don't have to.
Yes, and one more question before before you move on. A question about the driver for the Space Mouse with SketchUp 2025. I know you use or you are currently using the 3D mouse right now. So how did you get it to work?
So I actually went and post-release, I installed 2025 installed, and then I went to 3D Connections website and downloaded the newest installer, installed it, rebooted. Everything just worked.
Very nice. Are the old materials available in still? So you could go to face style and change just to shaded with textures. That would give you the same look as the previous version. The materials that ship with SketchUp now are all the photoreal materials. So those have the PBR maps all applied. Those are different, obviously.
You could, theoretically, you could go grab your SKMs out of your 2024 installation and bring them to 25 if you really want those. So.
Yes. Show that process. Let's get technical on the stream. Hey.
Ooh, soon as we go to any Explorer window, I'm kind of, yeah, I don't know. Just to touch on that though, seriously, all seriousness, one of the big things that you've already seen in videos about 2025 is the visualization. And I know we're talking about it and not showing it. We'll be there in 1 minute. It is an option on top of SketchUp. So if you like those white clay model working documents, working models, you can still do that. You can still go in with basic colors, no shadows, no image-based lighting. You don't have to use all of that. You can use it SketchUp just like it was. But if you do want to go deeper and get those additional things, it's like a cherry on top of everything. So
Yes, and thanks, Colin, for chiming in that you can get the old materials on 3D Warehouse as well.
there you go. All right, so let's hop in here because I want to get to I want to get to that stuff. So we're still technically what we're looking at could be the same in 2024 or 25. So I want to get through this. So this is a look at that model as Eric started filling it in. You can kind of see here how those different blocks of spaces came together. Here's the big 2-story gym at the back. Here's our front foyer,
Grand stair.
the the grand stair, the welcome desk, the information desk lobby, meeting rooms, library, the theater. And you can see how the pieces, the different modules kind of stuck together and then kind of all worked into one piece. And this is, I'm not going to go through all the tabs here, but this is just one of the images that I think is really cool because it's it's kind of got that cool isometric look, which I think is a fun way to see an overview of a building. But you can also just kind of see how the different chunks, like those the words where, here we go, how that transferred into that. And I just think that was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I really like too is, excuse me, right towards the center, you can see that staircase, and then there's kind of the bigger stepped wooden staircase. I thought that was a really cool addition. It's like kind of, you can sit and hang out or like have a little more room to talk or have a coffee or whatever, and kind of built into the main stairs. So I thought that was cool.
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing space. I also wanted to call out, and this is the thing I call out because this was a lesson we have learned, we being the creative team at SketchUp, is if you look on here, there's these little images. So right here, I have a little guy running. Here's a little book. Here's a little comedy and drama mask. On the information desk, there's a little eye in a circle. A lot of the content we create ends up getting localized for different languages. So we need to be conscious when we make models, we can't put in big blocky text. We can't just say gym this way because the word gym doesn't mean anything in Brazilian Portuguese. That might be a lie. That might be the same exact word. There's a language out there where gym doesn't mean anything. And we probably translate into it. So this was actually a lesson we learned with the coffee shop. I don't know if you guys remember, we did a series of live models where we modeled a coffee shop collaboratively, and we actually had what would call the spot was the name of the coffee shop, and it was up on the side of the building. It was on the bar, and then we had images we were localizing, and they said, we needed a different solution here. So Eric went in and made a coffee cup logo that we replaced it with. But lesson learned, and something we brought forward here is, no big words. So
that's right. And I think the spot probably came from a YouTube comment because we live modeled that coffee shop and asked people. Same that we just did the bookstore the other day too, that you modeled, and that name came from a comment. So yeah, the chat is part of these models as well. So
that's right.
Appreciate your input.
And just to let you all know, we loved the spot, and I still have a version of the model with the spot logo on there. We just couldn't use it for outbound marketing. But so I wanted to show this too. This is just, again, I'll click through a couple of things here. So these were the kind of images that we were looking for. We knew, again, this right here this work was done just with modeling. You can see there's a little AO, little bit of ambient occlusion here, but this is not the new materials. There's no image-based lighting at this point. This was just to create a model that we could take into that. But here's the lobby, The theater, again, very intentional about these. These were the kind of shots that this model was built around, was how can we, in one model, have some very different looking spaces. And
Yeah.
this is why the
And if
King
you go
Center is so
back,
cool. Yeah.
sorry, to interrupt, but one thing Eric did too was make this model kind of a SketchUp version and also V-Ray ready too. So you see the curtains aren't actually that material, or they are that material, but when you bring it into V-Ray, that's like a V-Ray material. Yeah, the trees kind of they have this weird outline, but those are V-Ray trees in there. So that's why and stuff looks like that. But yeah, so another piece too that Eric included in the model. We also had a question from StudioRT Cool. Can skydomes from V-Ray or SU Podium be used by SketchUp 2025? So SketchUp 2025 can import environments that are HDR or EXR files. So if you can get those skydomes out of those programs as either HDR or EXR, then yes, you can import them into 2025.
I like that. I would have said probably could do something like that. Yeah, so it was a cool opportunity to come up with just how many different spaces can we create in one building. So, I mean, obviously we build a lot, people build a lot of office buildings, we build a lot of homes, that kind of stuff, and there's lots of cool views to be had in those buildings. But this ended up just with a set of very diverse looks and feels in the same building that still made sense to go together. It doesn't feel like, that was another thing that was done, like I said, intentionally and worked out very well, is it doesn't feel like we took a bunch of disconnected things and just jammed them all together. It's done in such a way with intentionality that the whole building works together. I wonder if this ceiling was inspired by the Vancouver Convention Center, because it's giving me those same vibes as that we got there.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that for anybody who went to 3D Basecamp in 2022 at the Vancouver Convention, or you could just have been at the convention center before. But yeah, no, that's a cool ceiling, and yeah, definitely vibes of the VCC. Yeah.
So this is about where Eric got to when he left our team. So we knew we weren't done with it. So we brought another guy back onto the team. Justin Horstman, who was our designer for a number of years, came on to kind of come in behind Eric and work on our models. And I'm going to share the model that he got us to. So this one right here, you guys probably recognize this as being the model you've seen in some of our videos already. But this model is built from the exact same, I mean, a lot of it is exactly what Eric built. But you can see we got new materials on there. I should give Cassidy Shipley credit as well, one of our product management team. He spent some time on here adding materials as well, just to get the most out of it, get all those PBR materials on here. And you can see, if you haven't seen this before, I just want to walk through a couple things. So as I spin around this, I'm just using my 3D mouse to move in 3D space, but look at how the light changes. So it's not quite as simple as materials are getting brighter or darker, more light, darker light. There's actually colored light coming off of that image of the sky dome and changing how it plays on. I know I did this in other videos too, and I apologize, but it's just such a clear illustration. So right here we have this, it's shiny black material, so it's some sort of metal facade right there. And as we turn it this way, you're gonna see the orange from the sunrise over here hit across here, and because it's shiny, that color orange actually creates a gradient across there. This is what image-based lighting and physically based materials are all about. So you can see, if I look at it from far away like this, that's great. But as I tip it like this, and then more and more of those colors come in, you can see them reflect off of those materials. And each of the materials reflects a little bit differently. So some of the materials that are, harder materials or polished materials are going to reflect more light. The ones that are rough are going to reflect less light. And that's what this is all about. This is so cool.
Yeah, and definitely from this like distance, you can tell obviously, like you said, the reflections in the kind of the big surfaces. But um, if you've worked with PBRs before, you know that like when you get up close, that's when you really get to see the nice, normals coming out and the nice, uh, yeah, all the properties of the physically based rendering. You can definitely tell as you get closer in. So for the interiors or anything where you're a little bit closer in, those materials really pop.
Yeah. So if we do come back in here, let's fly in here. You can see. So again, this isn't rendering. This isn't ray tracing. I'm not picking a light and then copying in, a light, and then when it hits something, it stops. This is like the whole building is lit off of these environments. So you can see I do have that same warm glow coming in on the inside. So as I look at this, I can actually, see this as if that sunrise sun was coming in from the side of the building and hitting these materials. There's a good example right there.
Yeah. And Colin has kind of a clarification in the comments that I want to say out loud too. I think I maybe misinterpreted Studio RT Cool's question before about V-Ray and Podium using environments. It like right now, V-Ray and Podium won't recognize your SketchUp environment, and that's what Colin's saying here. You would have to add that in the V-Ray asset editor. Potentially some kind of interoperability that could come in the future, but yeah, like if you sent this scene as is to V-Ray, the Sky Dome in SketchUp would not show up in V-Ray. So I just want to be clear about that. Randy says, is this SketchUp 2025 out of the box? Yes, it is.
That's right.
I mean, you have to add the new materials for them to have the photoreal material properties. You can't just like bring in a model that you previously added materials to. But yeah, this is no extensions or anything. This is just this is what SketchUp looks like.
Yeah, and that's the thing I want to point out too is like, one of the things we talk about and really lean into is SketchUp being quick and easy and accessible. And that's exactly what this is. So if I was to come in here and just start modeling, I could, just like I would in normal SketchUp, except it has this look and this material to it that, is different from what I've had before. So look at that. See how that kind of light changes under there with the ambient occlusion. The materials are showing up there on the side, lighting up in the sun. This is all just SketchUp. Which is the super cool part about it.
Yeah, and now it has this nice, cool sculpture in the middle here.
That's right.
So
you can probably sit
while you're waiting for the elevator.
That's right.
Yeah, that could be a
seating opportunity.
Art piece.
Yeah, something that, just to mention, because we're talking about this, because that's what we do here. Just to talk about the intention here, what we're really shooting for here is, because V-Ray's already come up a couple times. There's V-Ray absolutely. I'm gonna get this. It's bothering me. That's a walkway that shouldn't be there. Had to get rid of it. But one of the things we want to talk about is final rendering still has its place. I was just talking about ray tracing and full shadows and interior lighting versus exterior, adding lighting elements. All that stuff is super important to a final model, and that's not what this is intended to be. And people, we've already seen comments. Well, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? There's a lot of stuff with final rendering that you could do that is not. It's intentionally not part of this. This is just a better visualization than we saw before. So that's what we're shooting for. That's kind of what the intention is with this visualization stuff in 2025. I want to get in here and play around a little bit and actually let's work with some of the tools. So one of the things that I want to look through is going through and let's take a look at materials. Let's grab some stuff off of 3D Warehouse. Let's put some of that in. Let's look at environments, play with environments. Let's do some of that visualization stuff. Bring your questions up as we go through, and I will try to regularly pause and give Matt a chance to relay your questions. Sometimes I get excited. It's nothing personal.
He's on a roll, folks.
That's
Let him go. Yeah, no sweat. But Beth had a question about just purchase my first pro subscription. Should I start with 2025 or is there any value to starting lower? I would just say go ahead with 2025. Everything that's in the previous versions is in there. So, and plus you get the new cool materials and backgrounds and that kind of stuff. So yeah, hop right in on 2025. Absolutely is our recommendation.
Yes.
Can you walk through using AI to generate correct textures? Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. Earl points out that if you want to, like if you're working with other people who are using 2024, then in order to pass files back and forth, you would I suppose no.
No, we had 2024 should be able to open a 2025 model. So
Yes, I stand corrected.
should be okay. Should. I'm using that word. I'm very intentional. You should be okay.
Yes. Paul says, don't want SketchUp to be a render program for me. No problem. Don't put the environment on and don't use the new materials. You're all good. You can just keep using SketchUp the same way. Soon AI will do all this and you'll be out of job. Sorry, guys. Yeah, perhaps true. But hey, who could have the personality and the the screen presence of Aaron? There's no AI, avatar that could bring that kind of heat. So I think his job's safe for a while.
I just want to weigh in on that too, because there's lots of people I know those probably said tongue in cheek, and I get it. A lot of people are concerned about AI, and I would just say that AI is a tool. I think that designers who use AI will probably become more proficient and be able to do more with less than people who don't use AI. So I'm a big advocate of AI as a tool. I don't think AI will ever replace, human beings, heart, soul, creativity. That all comes from people. So, but AI as a tool is something that should be, seen as advantageous, and we should be able to leverage it. So, yeah.
Well said. What Mac are you using? This is super smooth. We should also note that Justin made this version specifically for you to talk about with this so that it would work well with the 3D mouse and everything. There's another version that has fancy cars and trees and stuff like that in it. But yeah, this model definitely is running pretty quick. And you're on a laptop, right? Just like a MacBook?
I'm on a M2 with 32 gigs of RAM. So just a MacBook Pro. It's not a monster. So yeah, so the previous version we had all those rendering assets. Like Matt said, there's high poly cars and about, I don't know, 200 people I think were in there. And then I can't remember, 9 city blocks of streets and kind of mocked buildings like this. So it was a much bigger model. So this model was actually trimmed down so it does perform better. We'll make this model available to you guys. This will end up on 3D Warehouse. We'll put a link up on the forum after the stream so you guys can actually download this and play with this, because there's no magic or anything happening. This is just my normal laptop that I model on every week.
Nothing on my sleeve.
That's right. My sleeves are all the way up here. But yeah, so I understand the question. The question being like, am I using just a monster laptop? And the answer is nope. This is really pretty basic, pretty simple.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about the new visualization stuff is that it works just real time like regular SketchUp. Like I didn't notice any difference from shaded with textures in 24 to all the new stuff going on now. Like everything still is really snappy, and it's not like go ahead.
I'll just say the one thing that I've been reminded is shadows still work the way they did before. So if you saw delays or any stuttering with shadows on, that's still the graphics engine processes shadows the same way it did before. So if turning shadows on used to make your machine jump or take a second to render, that's still the same. But all the rest of this, the image-based lighting and the photoreal materials, like Matt's saying, just as smooth as image materials in the past.
Yes. Yeah. You want to jump into?
Yeah, one thing, somebody asked a question. If you take a 25 model into 24, the environments won't go along with it, and the properties of the materials won't show up. So I believe they'll show up. The image that the property is based on will show up, but it won't have like the different values, the metalness, the roughness, those things. The normals won't all be included because the engine's not there to render that.
Yes.
Yeah, let's keep going. So this is new. So this is a new panel in 2025 or an iPad version 7 is environments. And what environments lets us do is actually come through and pick different environments. So right now I have this sky sunrise environment, but if I want to switch this to another one, and see how everything got cool there. I'm gonna do this too. I'm gonna go into my styles. Styles environments are two different things. Environment is something you can save into a style, but you don't control environments through styles. Styles are still the same things they were before. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to turn my ground plane off. So it's going to look a little bit weird, but because I'm kind of floating above that ground, but I just wanted to get rid of that flicker of the ground plane so I'd show you what my full sky dome is. But you can see when I did that, look how different the colors and the reflections are on here. I was talking about this panel right here. If I go and look at it now, see, it doesn't get that same orange glow moving across it. It's kind of got this cool blue because this is like a cloudy midday rather than, or not midday, I guess it's sunset. I don't know. Sun's over there, different spot, and it's not quite as warm as it was before. So as you go through these different environments, it's going to change that sky dome and back, but it also changes the color and feel of the lighting on the rest of the model. And those are basically the two things that environments do. So if I want to go back to, I'm going to go back to my sunrise just because has such a drastic impact on this model. And I'm going to click edit. And when I click edit, I'm going into these pre-made environment, and I'm going to say edit, and it's going to give me my options. The options it's pretty simple. Again, this is, the developers did an amazing job of keeping this SketchUp-y. Like it is. All right, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm gonna break this down for real. I go into a lot of like rendering software and stuff, and I have seen people just make rendering sing, and just amazing output that I've seen come out of rendering engines, and I love it. I go in there and I just get so overwhelmed. Like so many options, specular levels, and words I can't pronounce and stuff. It's one of the reasons I like SketchUp so much is because it's always been very intuitive and approachable. And I think these environments do a great job of giving the ability to edit this without making it overwhelming or putting, too much into it. So
yeah, totally. Props to the to the product management team for being very intentional and thoughtful about what things to include, and most importantly, what things to not include, because it's like, yeah, you definitely could have more control if you added a bunch of different text fields to add in specific numbers or whatever. But yeah, you open up that panel and it's like, okay, what do I even do? Where do I start? So yeah, I agree. And one of the things that is in here is set sun location that people have been asking about. So
that's one of the things I know how to do. Thanks for asking. All right. Yeah. So when we look in here at our settings, we have a couple things. I'm going to go out of order here because I just want to touch on these real quick. So I have use environment as sky dome, use environment as reflection. So these environments, like I said, have two things. The sky dome, this 360-degree image. I look every direction I can see. And the second thing is the lights, this colored light coming in based on the image. That's what they are. So I can turn these off individually. So if I turn the sky dome off, I'm just back in a regular SketchUp world here with a color for my sky and then a color for my ground. And the other option is to turn off reflections, which keeps my sky dome, but then gives me, this is just my plain old SketchUp model. So that's what I was saying. If you like this look and feel where you want to just get in and just have flat materials and work from that, you have the ability to do it. You don't have to go in and use the better way to do it. I was kidding. Use it how you like.
Yes.
So if I turn both these off, it's SketchUp 2024, basically the same engine we saw before. If I do turn these on though, that's when I get the look in the back. And if I look at set sun location, so up here I have an image. This is kind of my 3D 360 degree ball image laid out flat in front of me. And if I turn on set sun location, it'll actually let me change where this sun is at. So you can see by default, these environments have the sun set to where the sun is in the image, right? So the sun's right here. But if I turn this on, I can actually start to move this around. You see how those shadows, that shadow on the ground? I can actually move the sun to change where the shadows fall. So it kind of changes where that is in reference to the image there. So that's how you can actually work with matching if you had shadows turned on also, you could match your shadows to the global illumination if you wanted.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, just to be clear on this too, the sun location is just for the shadow. So that's not going to change the reflections or the sky dome or anything. That's just for when you have shadows turned on. So if you have shadows off and you hit sun location, it's not going to do anything. So it looks like it just automatically turns shadows on. So
yeah, it does.
That's easy. That's SketchUp-y.
But Matt, what would I want to do if I wanted to change the sun coming into the model? Well, I'm glad I asked. So right here we have this rotation angle, and what this is going to do is going to take that entire environment, that is the sun, the light location, the sky dome, and it's going to let us spin it 360 degrees. So when I do this is where I actually will see how the colors are changing on that model as I move it around. So this, and you can actually see the image in back is spinning around too. This is how I would change that. So if you wanted to get the perfect setup, right? So if I wanted to go in and I want to get the light coming in, let's see, I want to get the light so it's coming right in the front door. I could come around, bring it around. So there we go. It's shining on the front right there. And then if I wanted to match the shadows, then I could turn that back on too, and then change my sun location so the shadows are going back from there. So you could do that kind of thing to get the exact look and feel you want using that. The other options I have down here are my exposure. So I have my exposure for the sky dome and exposure for the reflections. And that's exactly what this is. This is just a lightness to darkness slider. So if I slide this up, my sky dome's can get brighter versus down makes it disappear. Same thing with reflections. If I slide this up, it's going to eventually just totally wash out my model. If I drag it all the way down, I'm going to be, I could model in that if I wanted to.
Dark mode.
Boom, did it.
Hidden dark mode.
That's right, secret dark mode. There's a short for you.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think what's really cool about environments too is that all this stuff can be saved to scenes. So there's a new checkbox under all the properties that you can save to scenes, and one of them is environment settings. So here in styles. I mix up styles and scenes probably every day.
Sure was.
As well.
Wait, where's it? I know that drop down exists.
They're
both S words, one syllable, pretty much the same.
Yeah, but so you could save, and it'll kind of the same as it does with camera location and shadows and stuff, is if you have the environment, rotated to a certain degree, it will animate between the two scenes from one location to another. So all that's really cool because you can have it on or off, or like you said, any combination of rotation and, sky dome on and reflections off, or whatever you want to do. Just assigned to scenes, so you don't have to manually go in and change it. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, Studio RT Cool said, I want to learn how to make these, but that's another world of discussion. I'm actually working on a video right now where I create my own sky dome. So keep the lookout for that. Yeah, you can, if you want to do a real world one, obviously the one Aaron's in right now is kind of this like, you know, floaty world thing. Like this wasn't taken in real life. The one I am doing is like in real life, but really, as you can see with the preview, it's just a 2D image that gets like wrapped around. So my video is going to show you using your phone to create it, but you could also just create a 2D image and save it as an EXR. It might look kind of weird, but trial and error. So yeah.
Yeah, Marty's asking about the ground plane. All I did was I just went into my style and I turned my ground off. You could always turn it back on like that. And then just what's above the ground plane will show on the sky dome. So.
Right. Only stuff above the horizon.
Right. So yeah, which is how this model originally was. I turned it off just to show you the bottom of the sky dome, but it really doesn't make sense to show what's under here because, like I said, unless, like Matt's saying, you have a purpose-built sky dome for a specific location, then I could see that making sense to actually get that in there exactly where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Really, it should be called a sky sphere because it is a full 360 sphere.
We are selling ourselves short. We are absolutely...
Sky double dome.
Yeah. Sky... Yeah, but so that is a look at environments. So right now there's 18 environments that are shipped with SketchUp. So you have the ability to get into those. There are that same set of 18 are available on 3D Warehouse. So I don't know how you would lose them out of your model, but if you did, you could always go grab them off 3D Warehouse. And the word on the street is more will be available in the future. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, totally. And you can always, there's a lot of freely available, either Creative Commons licensed sky domes that you can find online, or you can, pay for licensing one of them too. So there's a lot out there. If you just search for sky dome or search for HDRI, a lot of options to import as well. And there's super easy to import. You literally just hit the plus button and it's in there. So
let's talk about materials. So I just made a couple of monoliths. You can see as I pulled them up, AO is already on. So I got these nice little shadows where they're sitting on the ground. Super cool. Just with this white material, you can see as I move it around, it's subtle, but you can kind of see it turning more orange as I get the camera back towards the sun. Yeah, let's talk about putting some cool materials on here. I'm going to grab my colors window. No, the colored pencils are not part 2025. This is a Mac thing. It's the default way it shows colors. Windows has the swatches. Mac has colored pencils. So I'm cutting that off ahead of sometimes a question's coming. Just want to cut that right off. So I want to put a couple different materials on here. Actually, let's do more than this. Let's break each of these faces in half, and maybe we'll do like 4 different materials on here. So let's I'm gonna throw this shiny metal right here. Awesome. And then let's go grab like a glass. Let's grab a glass texture. Reflective texture right there. Oh yeah. So here we have some shiny stuff. You can see. So if I really lean into it and tip my head over, so I'm looking over there at the material, you can see that sun shining. So on the metal, which is shiny but not fully reflective, I have some texture. You can see that bumpiness showing up there. And you can also see the reflection of the sky dome on it. If I look at the glass here, which is fully reflective, but transparent. So I'm actually seeing the back of the box. I'm seeing the openness of this box behind it. But you can see like full reflection of this. So I just want to point out again, somebody asked this in a video, am I going to see reflections of, so if I come in here and I draw another rectangle on right here and I bring this up, that's not going to reflect into the glass. So that's what I was saying. This is not ray tracing. This is not full rendering. I'm not going to see reflections like that. I'm not going to see this in the glass, no matter what angle I look at it. All it's going to reflect back to me is the actual sky dome on the outside. I just want to head that off because I know that's coming. So let's put some rough materials on the second monolith. Let's come in here and go grab some asphalt. Let's see what we got for some asphalt or concrete. Throw some concrete right here. And then I want a brick. I like brick. Let's grab brick. Let's try that brick. Yeah, it looks good. All right, so as we come over here and look, same thing, I'm going to tip it over to the point where we're getting these harsh reflections over here. You can see on here, we're not getting the same reflections, right? Concrete, this is a rough concrete. This is not polished. You can see that it looks like it gets a little lighter or darker, but it doesn't actually reflect. So I get a little bit of hue from the light coming in because it is a warm light, but I'm not getting like a reflection. This brick here is a little bit polished, not quite as polished. I'm not seeing the full reflection. You can see it's a little darker down here than it is up here just because of the way the colors are coming in from the sky dome. But you can see as you do this is I'm seeing little reflections different on the face of the brick than I'm seeing in the grout. See that? There's that sun's coming in and it's hitting on the bricks. The bricks are getting real bright, but the grout's staying a little bit darker. That is what these materials are going to do. So there's just a handful of examples of just out of the box materials. I haven't touched anything yet. I haven't adjusted anything. That's just those materials and showing how they look as I have them interact with the environment.
Yeah. Did you want to edit them and take a look at the different ones to see what the different settings
Absolutely.
are?
I just wasn't sure if there's questions, so I wanted to stop for a second.
Yeah. One question about file size and sky domes. So like just like SketchUp in the past, if you have a lot of materials or whatever, that's going to be in your model and saved inside your SKP file. So that size will go up. Like Colin says, the ones that ship are the environments that ship with SketchUp are pretty optimized. They're not 16K, 100 megabyte plus files. So they won't like completely blow up your model, but every time you click a new environment, it'll be in your model. So just be aware of that. But then also partially due to that, but also partially just to make sure people's models are, nice and clean. We also, when you save your file in 2025, you get this reminder to purge unused, which you could always get to, if you go to model info and statistics and go to purge unused. But there's kind of this, now every time Aaron saves, save, we're going to see this. But so yeah, this is the same purge unused as you're used to. It's just kind of a reminder to do that a little more often, especially with, the materials are bigger because they have all the maps, which we'll talk about in a second, and the environments and stuff. So always good to keep your model, light and only the necessary stuff that you need in there. Yeah, I should mention too that if you have a workflow where you use like templates, and you have a lot of pre-made scenes and tags and stuff, you don't want to purge unused because then that will get rid of all that stuff, even though you're going to use it. So you can turn that off if you want to. You can turn the reminder off. So yeah, purge unused reminder.
It's great. The web version, maybe the iPad version, I can't remember if the iPad version did or not, but the web version's been doing this for a while. And this is welcome to have it over here. One of the things that we see a lot of is people talk about their big bloated models. They have so much stuff going on. And I think, I don't know, 4 out of 5, I don't know what the number is, 4 out of 5 times it's because they've downloaded stuff from 3D Warehouse and then deleted it off their screen and it's still saved as a component in their model. So they get these big bloated files, but there's nothing actually on this, very little on the screen. And this will prevent that because this will actually go in and get rid of that stuff. Now, with Purge, as always, you have to be conscious and intentional about it because if you have gone through and like created a bunch of empty tags that stuff is going to go into, but nothing's in there yet, when you hit Purge, it'll get rid of them. If you have stuff imported and saved in your components window that is going to be going into the model but isn't yet, if you purge, it will get rid of it. So purge is basically saying if it's not in my model on the screen somewhere in a scene, get rid of it. And that's that could be dangerous. So you just want to be intentional about it. But it is nice having it there because it 9 times out of 10, again, making up numbers, but a lot of times those extra things they're not actually needed. So
Yeah. And I always forgot to purge,
yeah,
like I'd be working on the model and then like, I'd be like, why is this so slow? And then I go to purge and it like, quarters the size of it. And I'm like, oh, I guess I
right.
considered a lot of design options and then,
Yeah.
Deleted stuff and it was still in my components browser or whatever. So it's a nice reminder to have, even if you don't choose to say yes to it.
Yeah. 2 things I want to recognize. Both, I think, 2 people caught my Sir Bricks a lot comment. And one of them was Eric Sargent, who wanted to welcome because we were just talking about you earlier, Eric. So good to see you. Yeah.
Yeah. Shouts.
We said very positive things earlier.
The community center is Eric's baby.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about these materials. Let's look at a couple things here. Let's look at this glass, right? So if I come over to my material list, so one thing you'll see, big difference between the way materials were shown before and the way they're shown now is now they're on these cubes where I can actually see, any given material has a little preview of light, neutral, and shadow. So that's why the 3-sided brick, so I can actually see those different values on here, including things like, translucency and that kind of thing. When they were just squares before, some of that stuff was kind of hard to pick up. So this is nice. If I do look down here, let's see, I pick this. Okay, this is this material right here. If I double click this, it's going to show me this is the glass mirror. And here's what is included in a material now. So we have opacity that we had before. How see-through is it? This is glass, so it's really opaque. Or no, really see-through-y, really non-opaque. Anyhow, see-through-y, what should be called. The name of the texture, and then the size of the full material. If the material is at filling a square full size in the model, how big would that be? And that's there. Which is all, that's existing stuff. The new stuff is from here on down. So we have a couple things here. Metalness. Metalness is reflectiveness. So this is the actual value that says reflect that. So you can see if I turn this on and off, you can see the difference that makes.
How much of the environment is reflected in the material or not reflected.
So I can do that. Roughness is we'll see this behave differently on different materials. This is glass, so it's basically fully smooth. It doesn't have like a normal map, so there's not a bumpiness anywhere in this. So roughness behaves a little bit differently by kind of canceling out metalness. That is a dumb guy explanation of the way metalness and roughness work. We've heard explanations that go into much more detail internally, but that's my boiled down into a single number is that roughness and metalness on a flat surface like this kind of cross over each other.
I think of roughness as like how much is light scattered.
That's
like you'll notice on some of the other stuff when we turn the roughness way down, everything's like glossy, meaning like, it kind of looks like it has, what do you call that stuff that you put like a coat of something on?
Like a top coat, polyurethane or something.
Yeah. So that's like, really smooth, but then as it goes rougher, it kind of scatters more light instead of like, light bouncing. It's hard to it's hard to put into words. Right. Yeah.
The question came up. I just want to call this out because I just want to be conscious of this when it comes up. We had the question, how would this work on older gens hardware, a couple years old? My laptop is 2 years old. So like this.
Yeah, my computer is from 2020 and it flies.
So yeah, I know it seems like this would be a great spot for us to pull a fast one and like make everything look better than it is, but we're not. We're actually just showing exactly what we got going Um, so yeah, so this again is a perfectly flat material. So I want to jump back here and I want to grab this. Let's go.
I normally just stay in the edit tab and then just sample the other material.
I would have done that, but I hit a button instead. I didn't. that would have been the way to do it. Yes. So here we have same information up here, and then you can see down here, metalness is turned off. The roughness is cranked. And then we also have a normal value and an ambient occlusion value. So we're going to get up here. Let's get snug. Let's get in here and see this thing. All right. So we do have, with metalness even turned off, we have this kind of showing some reflection, and that's normal. If we do this and drop that roughness, look at that. See that? It looks like, it almost looks wet. Like there's that coating of polyurethane poured over the top, or water or something like that, by dropping that roughness back down. Whereas if we crank it up more, you can see it's drying out, and then there we go. So more, like Matt's saying, it's almost like at a really small level, you have these holes that are filled in or not. But with that roughness, you can actually control how much light is returned off the surface versus how much is in the roughness of the material. Normal works very similarly, or not similarly. It works similarly, and it's a slider. But I want to let's get a little more exaggerated view, and you can see, look at that right here next to the box. Look how it goes from being like kind of like a 2D image to I could reach out and feel that. I could feel that on my monitor. This is so I'm going to say this, that like there's some times where like the roughness and metalness, I've played around with a little bit, and I find like the material either is all rough or it's all metal. Like I tend to, my materials are one or the other. And the ones that I've played with anyhow end up being fully roughness or fully metal. Normal ends up always being somewhere in the middle. Because if I crank this all the way up, it looks ew. It looks like, it doesn't look good. So I find that depending on the map that comes in with it, this is somewhere down here in the middle is what's going to look best.
Yeah, I definitely think of normal as like the depth, the appearance of depth. So yeah, and also one thing that's different between metalness, roughness, and the other two is that you don't need a map for metalness and roughness. So if you just bring in a regular material, you could just slide the metalness and roughness wherever you want. It doesn't need, so a map is like a image that the renderer references to say, where should I have more of this and where should I have less of this?
Right.
And so you don't need those maps, but for normal and ambient occlusion, you do need maps, because yeah, if you didn't have a map for normal, like talk about depth, but it only moves in one plane, it's not really showing any depth. So,
Right.
but obviously the materials that ship with SketchUp or that are on the 3D warehouse, in the content library, have those proper maps already applied in there, so they're in there automatically. We saw the glass didn't have the normals or ambient occlusion, or any maps for that matter, even on the metalness and roughness. But the ones that, like these bricks, for instance, have the relevant ones already in there, and kind of set to a basic setting.
Yeah.
And then there's also that little flip toggle that you just hit too. If you do import a material and add a normal map and it looks off like that, it doesn't look like bricks. There you go. That little toggle is a nice little switch to try flipping for your normal map.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So these are all of them, not all, because obviously glass didn't have it, but a lot of the materials that have roughness to it will have that already in there. I don't have to set those up, so I don't have to like create and import PNGs for those maps, which is really nice. I do want to point out one other thing is ambient occlusion, and this is very similar to ambient occlusion that we use in the rest of the model, which is that the occluded shadows. That's a term I stole from Matt's video, but those shadows that show up by material next to material, and not necessarily shadows because one surface is covering the light from hitting another surface. It's that thing that happens between two surfaces where the light rays bounce around. And I can actually change how strong that is in the material. So it's subtle, but you can see it's almost like selective shadowing, darkness in the model. So you see that, like, as I slide this back and forth, whoops, I missed it. As I slide this back and forth, I'm not necessarily seeing a big change in the brick, but if you look at the grout, how much shadow and darkness I see in there is increased as I slide that ambient occlusion up and down. I was
the nooks
saying,
and crannies.
That's right. Make sure I know that they're there. Kind of like metalness and roughness, the ones that I've played with, I ended up cranking ambient occlusion all the time or just turning it off. I didn't really find a spot where I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it's because I'm not a subtle modeler. Like, I need these bricks to smack me in the face. So yeah, I ended up turning my ambient occlusion up all the way on those. But yeah, so this is the stuff you have control over. We have 2 more materials on here. Let's just hop through and check out how they're set up.
If you just stay in here and then say, yeah.
There we go. So here's my material. Like I said, if I really over like this, I can kind of see a little bit of that color coming in. But this is because the way this material is set up, that roughness is cranked. If I turn that down, then I can actually see it come in. But that roughness is cranked, and you can actually, so I bring that sunlight in, look how you do see the little bit of, there is texture to this because there is a normal map, but it's subtle. It's very, very subtle. So as that sunlight comes in, I am seeing it hit that a little bit, but when the roughness is turned all the way up, I just don't see it as much. So I'm gonna crank it up a little bit, maybe wet or polished a little bit, so that when I change my normals, you can actually see what that looks like. So where the other one, we had that bump map that was, primarily grout, you can see on this, we have a very, I wanted to say the word squiggledy because that's the image that I get right here, but I have a very dense, I guess, roughness map. So as I'm sliding this normal up, you see like all these bumps.
Yes, absolutely. We had a question come up about, can you use different brick colors?
Oh, absolutely.
You can finish talking about this concrete if you want first. You don't have to.
Yeah, no, so I just want to show this. This is another, so this material was, like I said, as we looked at it, it didn't have nearly the shine, didn't have the reflection of the brick, but you can see why. It's because that roughness is cranked, the normal's turned way down, metalness is off altogether. And actually in this, I don't know that even ambient occlusion is probably not going to make a huge difference. Yeah, so globally a little bit lighter or darker, but it's not quite the same where it's drawing out like the grout in the bricks a little bit. So just different values there. Yeah, sorry, colors. Go for it, Matt.
Oh, I was going to say, well, there's a couple different ways to have different brick colors. There's different brick textures that ship with SketchUp. You can get different bricks from the 3D warehouse if you click the little 3D warehouse button in the top right. Or you can edit the material like you would edit material in previous versions of SketchUp too, if you're familiar with that. So once you sample it, you can use the color wheel or the HSB sliders or anything to, now we got the disco concrete over here. But but you can do the same thing to the brick where you sample that and then go to the different color editor in the top to change it to a different color.
Yeah, so I want to touch on something Matt said. If we come in here and I hit the 3D warehouse button, it will hop me in here. Well, apparently I haven't been in here yet. See this. Tell me what's new. But if I come in here, when I come into my libraries, I can actually see my different collections of materials. So if I want wood, if I click in here to wood, you can see I got, just slide that off on the other monitor. So in seeing here, I have a whole lot of wood options. So I have a bunch of veneers here. There's some wood planks, some log. Got it all. Flooring, real wood flooring, some bark, some plywood. So yeah, 70 different things at launch, different wood types, which is more than, so if I look at the default, right? If I come in here and I say, show me wood, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as a sampling of it, I probably have a veneer. I'm editing that other material. Get me out of here. Stop, stop, stop. Right. There we go. Nope. Hold on. I got too many things going on here. Get out of there. Here we go. Yeah, let's go into my wood again. There we go. So if I click through these different types of wood, I have kind of a sampling there. But if I did want to, hitting that 3D warehouse button is going to take me in here, and I have those 70 different materials, or 70 different wood I could choose from. Any of those, just grab right down. They're going to already have all the settings in there for your metalness, roughness, normal, and ambient occlusion maps. That's already all included in there. So pretty cool. We did not, it was an intentional choice not to include all of them with the installer. Not everybody needs 70 different types of wood. Let's see what some of these other numbers are in here. 106 standard colors, 36 tiles, 20 stone, 10 roofing, 12 different colors of plastic, 8 plaster, 122 patterns, 62 metal.
One thing about the patterns too, I do think that the different maps really set the patterns off and like bring them to life.
Yes.
You know, in the past, obviously it's a pattern. It's like a 2D black and white thing. But now that you can add in the different maps and, you know, adjust that stuff, they really come to life and are a lot more versatile than they have been in the past. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, check those out. Yeah, let's see. I know I'm just reading off the screen at this point, but 30 ground covers. So that's where you can get your stone, your grass, that kind of thing. 4 different materials of glass, which I think all 4 are actually in the installer. 44 fabrics, 34 concrete and asphalts, and then 23 bricks. Ooh, look at that blue brick. I like it. It's kind of a painted brick there. But yeah, different sizes, different, and all, like I said, all of these come with all the maps and everything. So very, very cool.
Yeah. Couple questions coming up about SketchUp materials versus V-Ray materials. So right now, the SketchUp materials won't show up in V-Ray, you know, with the PBR properties and everything like that. But the SketchUp API and our whole philosophy has always been to be, you know, open and easy to work with for collaboration with other solutions, other softwares, renders, and all that. So I would say that it would make sense that renders would, you know, have some solution to bring in the materials and maybe the environments in the future. Not that they do now, but that's definitely a possibility.
All right.
Yeah, very cool. Did you want to talk about adding your own materials?
Yeah, let's.
I mean, if you don't have a material to add, it's not, I can't show too much, but we can.
I do. I have a material to add.
Bingo.
Well, I guess I need another monolith. So bring this over like that. All right. So I'm going to put the default material back on there. Yeah, let's talk about, I have a material. I have a just a tile that I apologize. You're going to see this in a video that's going to release next week, I think. So you guys got to jump on it. Different information will be shared, but this is the same image. I was going to go grab some more tile and I forgot, but this will still show. So if I just do import works exactly the same way that, you guys ever, does this happen to anybody else? I lose my desktop link all the time. So
Yep. Same here.
there we go. Desktop. And I'm gonna grab this tile. I'm gonna import it as a texture. And then I'm just gonna kind of put it on here. Nice big tiles. Those are probably like 3 feet tall each, but you get easier to see here. All right, so a couple things. Thing number one, I cropped this horribly because I have, look at these different size tiles all over the place because I didn't cut the image on the grout. You can actually see here's where it cuts from one to another. So
well, at first I thought it was like an intentional pattern. You know, you have the big ones and then a little row of the small ones.
If I could just not be so honest, I could take credit for this cool different shape. But no, I'm being honest, and this is wrong.
They should all be squares.
They should all be squares. And if you look at it, so again, that image-based lighting that comes in off of the sky dome affects everything. So this is a material that's just pulled in. Nothing has been done to it. But you can see when the sun hits it, it's like a laminate sheet, right? It's just like a big piece of plastic with what looks like tiles printed on it. The sun's hitting it and just washing across it just like it did the glass. Not quite like the glass, because the glass was all the way metal and I have a clear reflection. This is just that color's coming in. So there's some diffusion of light, but not to the point like we saw on the brick, where I actually see the light playing differently off of the highs and lows of the material. So let's fix that, shall we? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my material panel, my colors panel, and I'm going to come here, home, and I'm going to scroll all the way down, and there's that material that I had. So I'm going to double click to bring it up. And here's the information about it. It tells me how big is it, and then I have some values here for roughness, some default metalness and roughness set up, but yeah, nothing cool looking, nothing like normals or anything like that. If I did want to try to do this manually, I could turn normal map on and then would ask me to go pick a PNG file for that map and all that. I don't have that. All I have is this image I clipped. So to get this to work, we have this button right here, which is little magic. When you see 3 little stars like that, that means magic. That's what that means.
You need like a chime noise to play.
That's right.
Whenever you
That's what you should hear as soon as you're.
Ring.
Every time your mouse gets near you, fairy bells. So that's what this will do. This is actually the material generator. So what this is going to do, I'm going to go ahead and click on it and then talk through this. This only takes a couple seconds, which is really cool how fast it is. But what that's going to do is 2 main things. One, it's going to look at the material and it's going to say, how should this actually tile? Because it's not tiling correctly. It's going to be able to see that it's broken. But then it's also going to go in and look at the material. I didn't talk fast enough. It's going to look at the material and generate that normal and ambient occlusion map for me. So here's what we got right now. It looks a little shiny, but we can fix that, right? So in here, I can say, so you can see how when the sun hits it now, it's not uniform all the way across. That washout of light doesn't happen. It's more on the tile than it is on the grout, just like the brick was. So you can see the grout through that shine. And I can actually come in here now. So we'd actually bump the roughness up a little bit so it's not quite so shiny. There we go. And then same thing, I could actually change my normal map here too to, is this a ceramic tile where I'd have it more down like this? Or is this like a stone tile where it's actually going to be pretty bumpy? I could actually change that by sliding my slider around. And then same thing with ambient occlusion. Again, this is where I just come in here and like, okay, maybe it's too dark in this case, but yeah, I can actually change how dark the lows are with that ambient occlusion, which is pretty cool. And if I wanted to, I could turn metalness on. Maybe this has some, something reflective or some sheen to it. I could turn that on. And it's pretty cool to go from that stock imagery that I pulled in and see this that looks like a cool material that you could have just as part of your model. This is an AI generated material. So this has its successes and its misses, as with all AI. So it is also in the progress of being actively worked on. So this is a tool that as you use it more and more, it will get better and better. So right now you might feed it in a tile and or a material and it comes out kind of weird. That could happen. But if you'd use that same material a couple weeks later, it might be different because this is an active tool that is learning and getting better and better. So super quick, super easy way to try to bring materials in.
Yes, absolutely. And Barry has a question about, can you create the maps but not the tiling? Like Aaron said, along with AI, we're always trying to improve the software. That seems like a thing that would be, good to have in there, but we can't necessarily say about upcoming features, but that definitely seems like a valuable one, certainly. Having a little more control over the creation of the textures. But right now, it's just one button. So that's how she works. And also, if you do have like either a PBR workflow, or you're kind of opened up to this whole new world of PBR texture downloads, which, like the sky domes, there's a lot of stuff available out there that people made, available for free through Creative Commons or through other means, or like I said earlier, that you could license as well. So, and the way you do that doesn't automatically fill in these. You would have to add the texture in, and then you can see to the bottom right of each slider is a little either plus button or an edit button, and that's where you would click, and then that would bring you back to your Finder or your Explorer, and then you would go to the relevant map and choose it. So that's how you would manually add a PBR texture in this new materials browser.
Yeah, and as far as I don't want to ruin the magic of anything either, but a lot of times those normal maps or those roughness maps are grayscale versions of the actual color image with the blacks and whites kind of amplified or smoothed out depending on how rough a material is. So it is possible to generate those on your own if you wanted to. So if you had a material on your own and the AI generator just wasn't doing it the way you wanted to, you could manually create those. So it is possible. They're not. Again, there is a magic fairy powder button that you're going to miss out on.
It's not as easy as that, right?
But it would be possible.
The chimes.
If you want to control.
The chimes at midnight. That's right. Are calling you. Yeah.
So you'll miss out on that. But yeah, it is. There's control, and just to tag on to what Matt was saying. This is all, this went through our beta process. So the beta people, testers looked at it. A lot of you who are here probably looked at it too. But if you do have specific feedback or requests like that, great time to head over to our forum, forums.sketchup.com, specifically the section feature request, and put in things like that. Like, hey, AI generator is great, but could I have an option in there to leave my tiling alone and just generate my maps? That would be a great thing. Great question. Can you export the maps that AI generates? They are right here. I hit.
If you click that, does it?
No.
Okay.
They are somewhere. We can find that out. they do exist. They're on my hard drive somewhere. I'm just not exactly sure where they are. There's possible that they might be in a working directory somewhere in the library. And they're going to be somewhere different on Windows than they are in Mac, of course, but they do exist, and I'd imagine there's a way to get to them.
Yes. I sometimes import organic shapes as STL into SketchUp. Will the shape be shiny, or does it only work on flat surfaces? No, it works on any surface. So as long as the surface has a material applied, you will see that. The flat surfaces were just kind of so we could really get into the look of the what the different maps do and stuff like that, the look of different materials.
Right. So we have these benches, which they're not super organic-y, but you can see how the light changes across the rounded over corners. Yeah. So it's something, but yeah, as long as you have one of the new materials on there and you have an environment enabled, you should see the light move over it.
Yeah. Where next? Is that what you're wondering?
Yeah.
We're caught up on comments. So
Right.
that's good. But yeah, definitely if you have any other questions, let us know in the chat. Somebody earlier had a question about the Migrate Extensions
Oh. Oh man.
situation.
So if you look at the overhead camera, as soon as my elbow comes up and rests on here, that's a sign that I got a thing to say. I've noticed. I just was watching the overhead camera. I noticed it every time I stop. So that's going to be my. I'm going to talk for a second. Every time we have a release, we get the same questions. Does it automatically migrate extensions? And up till now, we've always said no. And I personally have always come back and said, I'm glad that doesn't happen automatically. Throughout the course of a year, through the 365 give or take days that I use one version of SketchUp, I will sometimes download 20, 30, 40 different extensions. And sometimes I use it for one video, or I try it out and it wasn't what I thought it was, and I need to get rid of it. So I've always talked about a new version being my house cleaning time. This is when I go back to the old version and I check and see which extensions do I want to bring over, and I'll mark those and I'll install them, and the ones I don't like, I'll leave behind. So I always had this thing in my mind like, oh, it's so good. It's so nice that I don't have that. But then 2025 came out and we got this extension called Extension Migrator. And I'm just going to show it to you real quick. So we're going to hop over to the extension warehouse. And we are going to look for, is it right? I thought it might be listed here. Let's see, just look extension. There it is. Oh man, that's a terrible thumbnail. But I guess it's what it is actually valid. All right, so Extension Migrator right here. You can get it. It only is going to work on 2025. It's the one version it will work on. And if you install it, it gets you a very simple interface that says, what installed version of SketchUp do you want to pull your extensions from? So it does have to be installed on this computer. I can't look back to what I was running in 2018. It's only going to look at what's installed. And then when you click on that version, it's going to pop up and say, okay, which of these extensions do you want to bring over? So what I'm saying is two things. It is that simple to pull over your extensions. That's not a guarantee that every extension that worked in a previous version works in the new version. We can't control what extension developers do with their extensions. We can't force them to update. So if there is a change in the Ruby API, something like that, old versions may not necessarily work, but assuming they work, they will move over, they will install, everything will be good. But it also gives you the ability to check or uncheck extensions that you don't want to bring over. So fortunately, if I go to extensions right now, and see because I made a video on this already, I did bring over a bunch of extensions. So my extensions are mostly here. But if I hit Migrate Extension, so here it's going to come up and say what version you want to migrate from. So if I grab 2004 and hit Next, there is a handful of extensions that I didn't bring over. So these four, I could, if I wanted to, grab them and pull them in, and then let's grab building instruction, migrate. And what it'll do is it'll go in. Oh, this requires a restart. Poor choice. But it will install it. It should still see it, I think. Hold on. Reading. Maybe not. Maybe I do have to restart to get it to show up. But
you can imagine.
Yeah. It's actually unimpressive. If it works perfectly, your extensions are just there. But yeah, it is pretty cool. And like I said, the fact that I could go through and manually choose which of the extensions to pull over took away my argument of I like cleaning house each year, because I can still clean house. I can still choose which ones to bring over, but I don't have to manually go back into Extension Warehouse and say, get this one, get this one, get this one. So I am super excited. It is super nice to be able to go in and just grab those.
Yes, absolutely. And one point that James had a question on, does it migrate all the extensions or only Trimble approved extensions? So it just looks to your plugins folder from your previous install. So it doesn't matter if you got them from Sketchucation, if you got them from Extension Warehouse, some third place that you found RBZ SketchUp extensions. As long as it's in your plugins folder in that version, it'll bring it over. So it doesn't have to be, yeah, as long as it's in there, you can choose to migrate it if you so choose.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah,
is good.
that's a nice way to get up and running with the fresh install and not have to, like you said, the annoying process of making a checklist and figuring out where those extensions came from and getting them in there. So
Done it. I've done it. Done it all.
yes, very nice. Is there a way to change the material or color of a live object? Did you want to show a
A live
live
component? Sure. Let's go hop
Yeah.
into 3D Warehouse.
There is a way. It's kind of not obvious. So yeah, we'll show you how to do that.
Go to libraries real quick, and I'm going to go to models. And is there one that you know is a good one to test this on, Matt?
If there's like a coffee table, that's usually an easy win.
So these are, in case you guys don't know what we're looking at, these are what are called live components. So these are parametrically built picnic table. Think that would work?
Sure. It would change maybe one with two different materials so
sure.
that you can show maybe the outdoor lounge seat.
Right,
looks like it has two different materials.
So the way that that these work that's different from other models on 3D Warehouse. So in case you guys don't know, everything that's on 3D Warehouse is just an SKP file. That's all it is. We call them components versus models versus whatever you want to call them. They're all just SKP SketchUp job files. That's all they are. Live components are a little bit different in that there's a parametric editor that's going to let me change the properties of the model before I pull it into my model. And then once it's in there, assuming I don't ever explode that container, I can actually change the properties of that once it's in my model as well. So if we haven't seen us work with these before, that's what a live model or live component is. So let's get into our model. Okay, I'm gonna drop it right here. Let me remember. There we go.
Yeah,
I want to show this real quick because I'm a simple guy. But one of the things that got added to this version of SketchUp is when I'm in rotate, not move, but rotate, I have the handles that I have available in move. So if I mouse over this, I can actually grab it by handle and then rotate. Sorry, if I stop and okay, pay attention to what I'm doing. Sorry, there we go. Or not.
Acting weird, yeah.
Talk about how much I love this. What it's
we got pretty
supposed
far
to do
without any issues, aside from my mic not working and your overhead camera not working.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah.
Maybe try a different component, or
yeah. Let's try this. Let's try my monolith. I come in here. Huh. That's new. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn this around with the move so it's facing towards this. Okay, there we go. So I got a couple materials. I actually have 3 materials on here. If I say configure live component, it's just on the other screen. This is going to give me the ability to, again, what is a live component? I can come in here and change how wide this is, how tall it is, depth. Cedar height. I like that. Oh yeah, let's get cushy.
Bring it on.
And toggle that footrest on and off. So this is the kind of thing that a live component lets me do. One of the issues that's always come up is in the past is if I wanted to change the colors of anything, I basically have to explode the whole thing. So exploding it means I lose connection to the live component editor. At that point, it just becomes geometry. Sometimes that's fine, but sometimes I want to color it, but at the same time, still be able to edit it later. So now,
Well, there's a couple of caveats with live components and coloring them. So first thing is you need to, this is just how live components work. They're always, being improved, but when you download it, you do have to configure it first in order to paint it. You have to change one of the parameters from the default. And then you have to deselect it before you paint it. So you can't have it selected or else it won't work. That's just how she goes. That's how it works right now. So just to call out in case you're not seeing the same, maybe deselect that back thing too.
We learn when you do, everybody. There you go. So nothing has to have nothing selected.
Yeah, and it'll paint all the materials of that material in the live component. That's how it works as well. Yeah, and if you're used to like editing components, rotating them or stuff like this, that's not available in live components at this time. So, look, you can put materials on it. Is it, a perfect streamlined process at this moment? Probably not 100% what I want in there, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Like with everything, we have people mentioning like artificial lighting and stuff like that. Look, the visualization is moving in a certain direction. Last year was ambient occlusion. This time we have the materials and the environments. So yeah, it would be stunning if we had everything all at once, but live components are work in progress, just like everything else in the world.
Yeah, somebody called out that I was clicking and dragging, which you shouldn't do in SketchUp. Click and release, Aaron. Yeah, I'm talking about how this is one of my favorite things. But yes, in Rotate, I have these handles now. And the nice thing about the handles is the handles let you rotate about the center of a face or a volume. So rather than, if I wanted to rotate about the edge of this foot, I could grab right here like this and say, rotate about that point. But if I wanted to just grab the whole chair and spin it around, I could just click right here and then move it around. I was dragging. That was totally on me. Come on, new guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick does say when you use the move tool, then you do click and drag. So
right.
It's a little bit different. So your muscle memory could have been doing you a disservice there.
Oh, stupid muscly memory. All right.
Why do when you explode a live component, the parts come in as groups rather than components? Yeah, that's a good thing. At the very top of the show, Aaron said that the developer team looks at our forum for feature requests and comments and stuff like that. So I would definitely say, let your voice be heard to our development team on the forum, forums.sketchup.com.
Yep. Go to the feature request area and put a note in there because they will look at it. Our product management team is always over there. Caveat, creating a post in feature request doesn't guarantee it's going to get done immediately. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying they will hear that you need that if you put that up there. So we have little to no influence over what actually gets done. We're just the pretty faces and voice.
That's right. Somebody had a question about tools before, and he showed the rotate tool. I wonder if you want to show the arc, the double click on the arc functionality.
Yeah, let's see some fun stuff. Let's where can I put this? I'll put this right here. I'll just because I can't get away from this reflection, we'll do it here. So if I come in with an arc, look at that. See a little pink line right there? Oh. So a lot of people have caught this, and some people have not yet picked this up. But double clicking on geometry, let's get more geometry to play with here. So a couple things just happened there. One is I just left the arc tool and came back into it. And look, I still have this visualization of these corners. See that? See that? So I can actually, oops. When I double click, I can actually double click there and get it to cut those corners off.
I don't know how you got to work when you were off the face. I thought you had to be on the face.
I'm good.
Look at you.
See, sometimes you got to not think and just start clicking.
Yeah. Look at this Utah. It's the rounded Utah.
That's right. Utah. Yeah. But yeah, so this is, it's a great just quality of life. So when we talk about, there's a couple different things that get changed with when we have new versions come out. Sometimes there's fixes, stuff that's broken gets fixed. We call those fixes because that's what they are. Then we have new stuff like visualization we call features. This is a new functionality. And then every once in a while, not every once in a while, every release we have some quality of life things, which is just, it's not a new functionality. It's not a brand new feature. It takes something that already exists and just makes it a little bit more good to use. And that's kind of where I would qualify this is just, you could use that double click before, but that visualizing and showing where it's going to show, in previous ones, you're kind of guessing. If I click right here, is that sometimes the angle would be too sharp and it couldn't actually fit that big of that radius of an arc. There's no way to tell. Now I can always tell if that's going to fit or not because I'll get the preview or I won't. So very nice feature, kind of like the rotate handles that you click and release on. Quality of life, just a nicer way to do that. Ooh, I'm going to grab this one. Yeah, ooh, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
That is cool.
Gold foil on there. Love
That's
to see
right.
it. And also for people who don't read the comments, I just want to point out, thanks Colin for diving into the details and knowing all the nitty gritty about the updates. For live components, you can commit to the current look of the live component. So you could say, instead of exploding, you could say detach definition, and that would keep it as a component. So yeah, right next to explode, you can say detach definition. So yeah.
And then if I was to come over to components,
Or yeah, entity info, you could see it's a component. Or yeah,
I was going to grab it and bring it back in again, but I don't know. Remember
right.
where it is. There's a lot of stuff in this model. Yeah, I could check this and see what is the name. Oh boy. Okay. That should be towards the top. Okay. So yeah, so if I brought that in again, it would show up as its own version and not connected to the geometry here. This is why we plan on we're going to model ahead of time and just stick to that thing because
you can make a copy of it and move the ottoman.
That's true.
But yeah, so you won't have the parametric, sliders anymore, but it would still act as a regular SketchUp component is the idea.
So I undetached that. It didn't undo. So now if I detach definition, now I can grab this one, configure it, and then just make changes to it. And it will only affect this one and not the other one. Let me make this the most awkward chair ever to sit in. Oh, it's terrible. Sit down. Yes.
This reminds me of like character creation screens in video games. You always go to the extremes to see what
how terrible
the ogre face looks like or whatever. Yeah.
There we go. It's like a Minecraft chair. Donovan will be happy with that. So yeah, so you can, without actually breaking it, you can cut it off from the definition. So it's its own version. Cool. Yeah, we're just about at 2 hours, so this was a lot of fun. Yeah. Oh no. So doing that, if I explode this, it's still it's the pieces inside of the component are still going to be groups. Yes. If that was the question, that is how it works. Detaching, it's not going to make the pieces inside into components. Yeah.
If there's nothing else, I'd say let's do a nice fly through of the model.
Yeah, let's go.
Just
Let's go spend a little more time in
the
bask in this
experience
thing.
of the community. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a super cool model. Love what Eric did with this. We can go faster on this side because it's boring. Come in here, check out this two-story window here with the running track above the basketball court. Oh, so cool. That basketball court is a dynamic component too, just FYI. So you can choose the number of courts, number of keys put on there. All that's part of it. Pretty cool. The monoliths here are not part of the model, so when I upload this, you won't see those. But yeah,
But easy enough to make your own.
That's true. You guys just rewind it back to about what was like 40 minutes and follow my steps of drawing a rectangle. You can do it. Let's see if we can get in the front door here.
Yeah, I want to talk about those little colored cubbies too. I mentioned this kind of earlier, but we had an idea that these would be like, you could check these out if you wanted a little meeting space or like working space. I'd say I reserved the purple room for 45 minutes or whatever. So I just thought that was a cool little addition. Adds a little color to the model as well.
Yeah, I love the way, especially from the outside, the way they look, because they do. Here's the main windows coming through here, and they kind of come out like 1.5 feet, and just adds that color to the side of the building, which is super cool. I love the way that looks. And cool. Again, a fun little piece of design that happened intentionally as this was being created. Yeah. There's that indoor seating Matt likes.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And then up here. So, like I said, we did some stuff to make this a more performant model. This is the library area. The books and all the stuff. I mean, you guys know how big and complicated a model can get. When we had, whatever, a couple thousand books in there, it weighed the model down quite a bit. So now we really have the building and took a lot of the furniture and stuff out just to make it work as well and smooth as it is. Yeah, but there we go. So yeah, there's a, let's just clean this up right now. Oh, you know what I should do? I should hit save, which, I'm trying to remember how many years, I don't know, the longest time. I don't know if you can see, you can't see it on the overhead, but this button right here is now connected to
save.
So because I just downloaded a bunch or a live component, some extra materials, that kind of stuff, if I hit yes, it's just going to get rid of all those extra things before it saves my model, which is pretty cool. I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to put it back to that sunset lighting. Is that this one? Or sunrise? Nope.
Yeah, that's it. You probably just have to rotate it.
Oh yeah, because I messed with my. There it is. Oh, I just love it. I love the way that light hits on the side. There we go. Let's save it again. So I will throw this. That was getting rid of the now newly unused environment. Yeah, I love this. I'm going to get this. I will put this up on 3D Warehouse. We'll put a link to it in the forum. The topic about this live stream. So if you guys want to link to it, it will be there in just a little bit.
Yeah, and that link is in the video description wherever you're watching this. So easy way to get to the forum thread. We also did have one question from Studio Article, or a comment, I suppose, about that we didn't touch on layout either. And there's a lot of really great updates to layout. Some of the tools in there are, easier to use, more like SketchUp, and a lot of great improvements in there. So yeah, we didn't show it today, but there's other videos that we have on the channel about it. And he says maybe an entire layout stream.
You guys let us know what you think. What we want to see. Yeah, that could be cool. We haven't done layout in a live stream for a while, so that could be a good one. Yeah, this has been awesome. Appreciate all you guys showing up. Thanks for everybody coming. Like I said, I'll get this model up here, and if you haven't already, and you're a SketchUp user, if you're active right now, you should go get this. This is what you should be running. It's the good stuff. 2025. Go grab it. Yeah, hopefully come back next week. I don't know what we're doing yet, but we're gonna do something.
And it's going to look great.
Next Friday. Yeah, and we're gonna start from the ground up with this version of SketchUp, and it's gonna be cool. So we're gonna have from the start. And you guys have to come back and remind me because I will start in the white space and just start drawing stuff. But let's get ambient occlusion on. Let's model with materials on. Let's model in an environment from the start, and we'll figure out what would look best in that, and we'll start modeling it right away. So
yeah. Magdalena on LinkedIn says how to grab this model. If you go, Aaron will upload this to 3D Warehouse and post the link in the forum thread that's in the description. So keep an eye out on that. I can see people now furiously refreshing the forum thread after the stream to try to get the model. So yeah, that's the place to find that. And then also, if you're not watching this live, if you're watching this, pre-recorded, if you have any other questions, either leave them on the forum thread or on the video wherever you're watching it, and we will get back to you. So yeah, please do. We are here to answer questions and fill you in. But yeah, thanks for everybody certainly who did watch live and anybody who's watching later too. But yeah, I had a lot of fun this stream. It was really cool to see all the new stuff and yeah, see all the excitement in the chat. So psyched for you guys to create some models with these new visualization tools, modeling tools, and all that's new in SketchUp 2025. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much, guys. Come back next week. We'll see you then. Have a great week till then. Bye-bye.
See you.